Robert Opp, you're the Chief Digital Officer for the UN Development Program. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, Tony.
Happy AI for Good.
Thank you.
It's going to be a busy week for all of us.
Absolutely.
So when I think of development, obviously key cornerstones are poverty eradication, healthcare, jobs, building a more resilient society. Is AI already one of those cornerstones?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's no question in my mind that when it comes to development, in the history of development, we've always looked for things that can accelerate what we do, whether that's different social innovation techniques or, community health workers and things. What AI and technology in general offers us now is the ability to accelerate development. And that takes a couple of different forms. One is, of course, we can look at a solution level and say, an AI-powered health management system or even a generative AI model could help remote medicine efforts or initiatives that are in place to make sure that, in places where there aren't doctors or nurses, maybe we can fill some of that gap with AI technology, et cetera. But we have to also recognize that AI and technology overall are major enablers, even at a national scale, for national development plans overall. And so UNDP, as the development arm of the UN system, we look at how do we support governments in deploying innovations, and then we deploy innovations in our own thematic or sectoral work, but also we work with countries on their own digital and AI transformations overall, and that includes policies and strategies for that. It includes what is the right tech stack I need to give the right digital public services, and what are the capacities that I need that I don't have currently.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, when I hear about the potential for AI to bridge some of these gaps, I also think there have to be building blocks there.
Yes.
And so it's not just you flip a switch and suddenly where there are no nurses and doctors, AI is doing its job.
Yes.
So where are we on the sort of continuum of this is really cool and this is really scalable when it comes to these solutions?
Yes, that is precisely the issue that we need to take into account. We can have the best pilot solutions that operate in a kind of relative isolation in a few villages and test a system that's an amazing working system or platform. But if we can't connect that all the way back to the fundamental systems of government that are in place, the health management system at a national level, the patient registry system that covers all citizens in a country, these kinds of tech layers at that point, and the right policies and strategies around them, if we can't make that connection, they're fundamentally going to struggle to scale. And so that's why we need to look at both of these levels. We absolutely need to be creative, and you see the amazing forces of creativity here at AI for Good in terms of what's the kind of last mile solution, but we also have to think all the way back to what are the fundamental and foundations that countries need to have in place for their overall digital and AI transformation journeys.
So official development assistance fell by double digits last year, right? And it's equally bad so far this year. I keep hearing AI helps us do more with less, but when there's just not enough money to go around, you're basically doing less with less. And I mean, how is that impacting initiatives to help develop AI infrastructure?
I think one thing to say, I firmly believe that regardless of cuts in development budgets, we would be pushing forward on technology, the use of AI and technology overall as an accelerator of development anyway. So it's not as though we're saying, well, we have to try to plug a gap because development funding has shrunken, and we now need to kind of figure out a way to do more with less, and technology is the way to do it. We would be pushing on the technology front anyway. Now, since we have a constrained environment of resources, it does put pressure on all sorts of initiatives that we would like to have that we may not necessarily be able to do, or governments themselves can't necessarily afford to do. And we look for creative solutions to get around that, but in some cases, there will be things that we can't do. And unfortunately, that will, in some cases, likely slow down some of the progress. But it's not going to change that fundamental driver that we see, that digital and AI technologies really can be fundamental accelerators of development overall.
So I hear this ongoing debate really around sovereignty, data centers, control of data. versus small AI, for lack of a better
Yes.
way to describe it, and just putting the power in someone's hand with a device. How do you view that tension?
Yeah. I mean, these are questions that are coming up all over this week. We have the AI policy dialogue that is going on with member states of the UN and multi-stakeholder consultations, and then we've got like the booths set up here of startups with the latest, kind of crazy gadgets and AI-enabled things. I'm not sure if there's a tension between those things. They all must be linked eventually. On the side of choices that governments need to make, governments will need to think through carefully what are the trade-offs involved in making investments around AI and technology, and it's that bigger picture of the national digital transformation journey or AI transformation journey. Governments will have to choose, how do I answer the questions to meet the needs that are my populace faces? And there's nothing really inconsistent with also pursuing small AI models or, kind of remote area implementations and things. And it kind of goes back to that issue of we really need to tie these things together, because the small AI can be deployed and it can have maybe a localized impact, but it's not going to be fundamentally scalable at a population scale unless we can get the national kinds of layers of technology, policies and strategies, capacities aligned to be able to really foster that scale. So I don't know if I don't see it as a tension, but those things are linked and we need to work on both, honestly.
I was going to say, so I was really surprised. I recently learned, as I shared with you before we started filming, that in Sierra Leone, the country has about 97% 3G coverage. It's not really an issue of having the connectivity. Yeah. It's an issue of being able to use it, having the right devices.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is it a fair statement that we can't necessarily wait for a nation that doesn't have one to come up with their digital AI strategy and build infrastructure when they're already being left so far behind. Is that fair?
It's 100% fair as an observation. I mean, we know that, Sierra Leone is one story, but actually Africa is the home to the largest number of users or people without regular internet connection.
Right.
And so there's even a kind of a pre-journey there of connectivity in lots of remote areas. There's a rural and urban divide in connectivity. There's also a gender divide in connectivity, and we need to work on all those things. But we can't wait for all of those things to be sequentially put in place. It's not really the kind of the building block model as such. I mean, there's fundamentals and foundations that need to be there, but we have to do it in parallel, because we cannot wait for it, generative AI systems, for example. We need to look at how they're being created in an accurate way that brings in local languages. We can then use voice-enabled systems, but we can't wait for every piece of connectivity to be in place. We have to do it in parallel.
Final question. In the same sense that there is an access and usage gap between the global north and the global south, there's also a vast optimism gap, and it's the reverse.
Yes.
That you see a lot of pessimism and skepticism coming from the United States, Canada, the UK, Germany, and then Vietnam, India, Nigeria, the opposite. What do you think explains that, and is it warranted?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we did a survey last year as part of our human development report that UNDP issues every year. It's kind of state of development. It gives the Human Development Index. Last year's report was on AI. We ran a survey, and a global survey of opinions and perceptions around AI. And you're absolutely right. Global South or low and middle income countries as a group were more optimistic about the potential. Now, I think people in those countries really do see the potential value from a point of view of, could this be something that I can use to make my own life better, to build a better business or improve healthcare? Because I think they're in places that may not have those services in place or as strong as they would like it. And so it's that kind of, is this something that I can use as an accelerator in my own life? I think that's where the optimism comes from. Now, I think it's important to say the conversations that are being had here this week around AI governance and some of the warnings and risks, I mean, we take those very seriously as well as UNDP.
Sure.
And we actually work very deeply with governments on their own kind of policies and strategies and laws and things around how to ensure that we can deploy AI quickly, get the power out of it, get the impact out of it, but do that safely and really importantly, inclusively in a way that builds trust. I just had a session this morning where we were talking to parliamentarians. And parliamentarians are sometimes an overlooked constituency because they need to figure out how to make laws that will guide the usage of AI and do that in a safe and inclusive way. But they may not understand the technology. So UNDP with other partners have started really working on giving some awareness and AI literacy to parliamentarians so they can make better laws and better choices, et cetera. So it's that kind of notion, I think, that is driving the optimism. It's a real, can I use this as an accelerator? I'm actively looking for things that will actually make my life better. And yes, we will take care of the risk, but let's make sure we look at the upside.
Robert Opp, thanks so much for coming by. This was great.
Thank you very much, Tony. Good to see you.